Hi, one of my other videos covers soil and nutrients in sort of top level and how I deal with soil in my veg patch. And I mentioned using banana peels, eggshells and tea bags in my veg patch. What I'm going to do on this video is just go into a bit more detail on eggshells, how I prepare them for using them in the garden, and also a couple of possible other uses for eggshells in your veg patch. I'm going to be going inside to do that, just because I need to do a little bit of work in the kitchen to get them prepared. So why use eggshells in your veg patch? Well, they are a really good source of calcium, but it's also got over 20 other nutrients within eggshells. It includes magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium. One thing that's important to realise with eggshells is that they're not sort of immediate releasing, so it does take a while for the nutrients to get from the eggshells into your soil. I normally bank on sort of 3 to 6 months to really try and get the nutrients coming out of it. So it's just worth sometimes thinking about when you're adding them to your compost or when you're adding them to your soil, just to allow for the fact it's going to take a while for the nutrients to come out of the eggshells. So how do I use them? I put them direct into my soil, but obviously you can put them into your compost heap. First thing to do is obviously is to make sure they're good and clean. Just give them a decent wash. I normally do that straight away and then leave them to dry. Some people also say you should perhaps microwave them as well, just to make sure you got rid of any salmonella and any other bacteria. Don't know if that really works, but I do it. It's no extra hassle really, just to put them in for 30 seconds. I do mine in sort of two batches to actually get to the stage of actually using them in my garden. First of all, with the plain eggshells, I just give them a crush, and it's just sort of a finger crush. And I then pop them into, I just then keep them in a little fruit bottle. I colour code these, so these haven't been through the microwave yet, and they're just very hand crushed. But what I then do is, once I've got a full one of these, I will pop it onto a plate, tip it out onto a plate, put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And then what I do with those sometimes is I then use a pestle and mortar just to try and cut them up a bit finer. So here's one of my bottles with a green top. That tells me that they've been through the microwave. I've already dealt with these in some way, so I'll just tip them out to see. So you should see that's a lot finer. So what I'll do with that is I've taken the main sort of hand crushed bits of eggshell and just go through them with the pestle and mortar for a while, just to get them a lot finer. And as you'll see, there's quite a difference really in how fine these are. I'll just manage to drop one piece in. How fine they are, and I think sometimes it just helps spread them in the garden and helps the nutrients break down a bit quicker in the smaller parts. What I actually eventually do quite often when I'm putting them out in the garden, I do actually use a mix of just the crushed ones, but I'll make sure I've microwaved them, and the finer ones. So I use them in about 3 different ways. In about October, I've tipped all the soil from my troughs and tubs into my raised bed, so they're full to the brim, and then I normally rake back about the top inch or 2 inches of soil, and I will put a lot of the eggshells in at the same time as putting some of my banana peel and tea leaves and a bit of Epsom salt, things like that in, and coffee grounds as well. And I'll just put a layer of that on, and I'll just cover it up, so over the winter it's getting rained on, it's got plenty of time to start to sort of get through to the soil. So that's normally about the end of October, early November. And the reality is I'm not going to be planting things out probably till getting on for maybe end of April through May and into June. I'll actually be planting things out. What I will just cover off as well is a few of the things that people say you can do with your eggshells. Some people talk about doing eggshell tea, which is ultimately just soaking your eggshells in water for a while and then pouring that liquid onto your garden. It may work, I'm just not convinced about that one. If you think about how long it takes for an eggshell to really sort of break down and give the nutrients out, I'm not convinced that just soaking them in water is going to work and help put the things out there into your soil. Another one is to use them as pest deterrent. That's really just sprinkling crushed eggshells around your veg patch. Personally, I don't believe this one works. I've tried it myself, only on a select bit of my garden, but I did make sure in that bit of the veg patch that I'd really got a good layer of eggshells down. And I could see the snails and things going over them. I don't think there's any real difference. The thing is, if you've got a decent veg patch, you're going to need a lot of eggshells to do that. My suggestion is if you want to do it, try it, see if it works for you. But as I said, I'm not convinced. I have seen some videos on YouTube and things which just show snails and slugs just actually climbing over there. crushed eggshells. The other one I have heard of is actually planting seedlings in an eggshell. So it's ultimately put some soil into the eggshell, put your seeds in there, and your seedlings will start to grow. I've tried this and it didn't work for me. Again, for me, it takes the eggshell so long to break down, I'm not convinced it's going to have any effect. Some people then say, well, you can then plant the eggshell out, which you can. But again, it takes a long time for that to break down. What I actually found is the root system of the seedlings was getting so constrained within the eggshell. With a few, what I did do as well, I tapped a hole through the bottom to let the root system start to come out from the eggshell. But that just didn't work for me. So again, something you can try, but for me, it just simply didn't work. So that's really all I do. It's probably a mixture of the fine, sort of hand crushed, and then the very fine powder. I mix that in with the rest of my little sort of compost mix of banana peels and tea leaves, which I've done another short video on. And when I finally do it, so I said I do it in my raised bed, when I'm doing my potting, I have a mix of soil with the eggshells and the tea leaves and the banana peels. And I put those into a pot, and my idea with that is I know it's not going to help the seedlings themselves, but because I then take the whole soil out of the pot and plant it into my raised bed or into my troughs, my thinking there is at least the eggshells and the banana peels are around the root base of the seedlings, so they're there and you know you're planting some nutrients around it, which will start to deliver the nutrients as you go through the summer. And the other one I sometimes do is when I'm finally potting something into my troughs or the ground, in the hole that I'm about to put the seedlings into, I quite often do a little sprinkle of a few things like some banana peel and some eggshells and things. So that's just giving you a little idea of how I deal with the eggshells, and also had a look at one or two of the other suggestions of how you can use eggshells. So check out my other videos which will cover off banana peels and tea leaves as well.